Today, I want to guide you on a true adventure. We're going to take 10 days, drive 600 miles of mostly dirt, and we're going to explore one of the most beautiful places in the country. This trip is going to go down as one of the most important trips I've taken in my life.
Nate, we may need you over here.
Every good adventure starts somewhere, and this one starts at the Canadian border in Washington State. I'm meeting up with 3 good friends from all across the country so we can embark on a 600-mile off-road trip. Now, there's a little bit of asphalt here and there because you have to cross some highways, but the long and short of it is we're going to go from Canada to Oregon, and we're going to try to stick to as many dirt roads as possible. This route has already been predetermined for us, and it's called the Washington Backcountry Discovery Route. 8 months of planning have brought us here, gentlemen. Are you ready to try to get from Canada to Oregon in 9 days?
I'm your Huckleberry.
Well, I'm glad somebody is.
Hey, we didn't get dressed up to dance tonight. Let's do this.
I like the tough guy talk. It's June, and for the rest of the country, that means break out the sunscreen, some sunglasses, and some shorts, but here in Washington, June is basically our spring. It could easily be February-like weather, or it could easily be August-like weather. And today, it's a little bit closer to February than August as far as the conditions that we're seeing outside. But that's okay. Today is a burner day. The goal is just to get to Canada, get to the starting point, and then find camp immediately so we can start day 2. Gentlemen, what are we up to in here?
Making sweet coffee.
We'll borrow your term, making some nectar of the gods to fire up these guys before we fire up these guys.
No work starts until coffee.
We need to fuel ourselves, then we need to go fuel our trucks, and then we need to go fuel our spirits with a long adventure.
The poetry!
The team that I assembled for the 600-mile adventure was not based on any sort of prerequisites or experience. David is from Dallas. David has not done anything like this before. Jason, same story. He's not from Dallas, but he's from LA, and he has not done anything like this. Neither one of them's ever been snow wheeling. They've never used chainsaws out in the bush like this. And then the last member of our team is Jake from Powerstop Brakes, or Powerstop Jake we call him. Jake lives in Chicago. He's not even really an off-roader, but he's an adventure seeker. And whenever we talked about doing this trip, I said the only way I'm going to do it is that if you come out with us, you get dirty with us, and you make a fun video. And he said, hell yeah. I chose these guys for this trip because I like them. It's just that simple. I think that it's more important for a 10-day off-road trip to do it with people that you like instead of doing it with people that have all the experience in the world that have bad attitudes. So after about 10 months of planning, we put all this together, we decided on a destination, and here we are.
Can I get a radio check? Good check. Good copy. The Blue Beast is on the move. Looks like we're gonna be chopping some trees, gentlemen. We brought way too many tools.
June is pretty early in the season to hit the Washington Backcountry Discovery Route, and I figured after a winter like we just had, there's probably gonna be a whole lot of trees in our path. So I brought 2 saws, we've got 4 guys, we've got a whole bunch of extra fuel, we have a bunch of extra batteries because I decided to bring 1 electric, in one gas, and I had no idea just how bad it was really going to get. You'll see more on that later.
We'll make it under this, but I think you might be trimming this one, David. We don't take here, do we? Or do we? We're gonna keep going straight? That's straight. Perfect. Good idea, we're already out. Another tree, boys.
Alright, David, before you go on through, let's hit this side.
I'm from the city. This stuff does not compute at all. Good job, Dave.
Ready to roll, fellas?
The backcountry discovery routes are actually put together by people who ride motorcycles, and when the conditions are like this, it makes it pretty much impassable for those kinds of folks. So for us to be good stewards on this trip, our next 10-day goal, of course, is to just make it from Canada to Oregon, but we also have a little side goal, and that would be widen the trail enough for people and their families to come through and camp, maintain the trail enough that people on dirt bikes can come through and enjoy it. And I plan on picking up every single piece of garbage that I see from Canada to Oregon over the next 10 days. Every person in this group has spent a lot of years enjoying public lands. Now it's time that we give back a little.
Are you guys seeing this little bit of snow that's coming out of the sky right now? Yeah, snowing in June.
We finally hit our first obstacle, and this is a big snowdrift that, if you're not careful, could easily just push you off the side of the mountain. But with low tire pressure, choosing the right line, I'm going to see if I can hang right really far. I know that it's really, really deep, but we'll see. I'm going to try to plow through, worst case scenario. Jason will use the yankum rope and just pull me right back out. 7 months out of the year, my friends and I are snow wheeling, and so I do have a little bit of a snow strategy. I try to hit it first with no lockers, because lockers can tend to dig, especially if you're turning the wheel, whereas if you're doing the one-tire fire thing, you can rely a lot more on momentum, and if you have a couple tires spinning, you don't seem to get in as much trouble as quickly. And then if you do get into trouble, you can turn the lockers on and usually back out. So I'm going to try to hit this a couple different times and see if I can make any sort of distance in this slushy nonsense. This is not ideal. This is like all water. So I'm high centering hard. We might be forced to go on the low side. We're only on section 6. We've got a lot of miles ahead of us, and the mountain that we're on right now is snowy, it's windy, and it's melting away. So the conditions might not be right to make this a walk in the park, but in my opinion, they're definitely right to make this fun.
Put heater on high because this is scary. I want my window open to hear Nate. This is fun. I mean, this is terrifying, but it's also exhilarating because it's learning a new skill, and I just got to go ahead from Nate, so we're gonna go for it. Oh. So this tire track right here, pretty low. You can start as high as you want, but it'll put you low. Okay, I'll try up here. This feels awful. This feels awful. The tail end of the Jeep just feels like it wants to be down there, and I don't like that. I like it when it just follows the front wheels straight. Holy.
Nate, you got a weird camera, man. Just trying to figure out how to turn this darn thing on.
I'm putting snow wheeling in my resume. I think this is our high point for today. What elevation do you think we're at? It's 6152 is what OnX is showing.
You eat the butt?
I usually just eat the butt. Like
You only eat the butt? I
Because nobody else
exclusively eat the butt.
Nobody else eats butt. So unless somebody else, Jason, I'm gonna eat butt unless you want this.
What's that?
The butt.
You have the butt. Eat the butt all you want.
I mean, Jake.
Eat all that butt.
Jake, are you good on butt?
I'm good on butt.
I'm trying to quit, so I've got a business idea. Let's make bread that has no butt, and let's sell it to people who don't like it,
And then sell the butts.
and then sell the butts
Butts-only
separately.
loaves.
Butts only. That's exactly right.
All right, that's our first million.
If it's farmers only, then I'm going butts only.
Jake and I are having lunch in the heater, also known as the Toyota Tacoma. It's very cold and windy out there. It is 36 degrees, which normally isn't that cold to me, but the wind is ripping. And we got a big peak up there that we're gonna have to contend with in a little bit, which is gonna definitely make us cold. So we're gonna have some lunch. We're gonna go take a look at this, strategize, and then I guess that'll be the next leg of the adventure and the next leg of being cold.
This is fresh pow pow. There's no tire tracks in it.
The spring quality snow that we saw on this next stretch was so unstable and so inconsistent that it made this really dangerous. There's a reason that there hadn't been any tire tracks in this yet, but we're not in a position to turn around. We had to figure out a way to get through, whether that means shoveling for hundreds of feet straight or airing down to 0 PSI, whatever it's gonna take for us to be able to plant our vehicles solid enough that we can make it through without sliding off the side of this hill. And what it took was some combination of both.
Just follow my tracks. Try not to use lockers if you can avoid it. But if you got them on, not a big deal. You just want to try to slowly creep up this stuff.
Dude, your rear axle area is, your undercarriage is packed with snow.
This is good hard pack up here.
Yeah, it looks real.
These conditions are not very kind. This is very steep, and if you start to get any momentum going down, you will for sure go all the way to the bottom of the side of this mountain. So we decided to level out the highest part of this snow drift, and then we're gonna sprinkle a little bit of gravel on top so that the tires have some bite whenever you're driving across it, so we hopefully don't slide off of our newly made snow bridge essentially. And then we're going to use max tracks for bridging. Anywhere that feels like you could just step on it and it would fall right through, we're going to cover that with max tracks, and we're going to layer them one over another in hopes that we can stay afloat long enough to get past this snow drift where it levels out.
Little driver. Perfect.
More driver.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Hold down. Stop. Perfect. Perfect.
here. Oh, just sunk like 2 feet. We're not completely out of the danger zone yet, but things are much better on this side of the snowdrift because the high side is not near as hard packed, so we can bury ourselves and it feels so much more secure when you're locked into a set of tracks. Once I clear the path, it's a little bit easier for Jason, and then it's a little bit easier for David. And before we know it, we're breaking out OnX. We're taking a look to see how far it is to the next section. We're hoping to camp on section 5 tonight. So we're going to blaze trail all the way down to Concooly and then head up into section 5, get camp, and take a breather. It's funny how when you're planning these kind of trips, you've got all these ideas in your head of perfect weather, beautiful campsites with unbelievable views, there's not a bug in sight, and the reality usually doesn't reflect that kind of thinking. Since we want to get ahead of schedule and stay ahead of schedule, we just put together a quick and dirty camp right off the side of the trail. Now it's time to get back on the trail, get back to work, because I know that there's going to be some pretty intense sections ahead of us with a lot of down trees.
David, next time we pull out that saw, please remind me we need to check the bar oil.
If we can keep up this pace, we're going to make killer time today.
And have a hell of a lot of fun.
Section 5 was probably my least favorite of all the sections. There was a bunch of down trees and whatnot, which was not a big deal. You're going to see later in the video, there's a bunch of down trees in many of these sections, but there wasn't really that much camping. A lot of the back roads were kind of halfway paved, halfway dirt. There were some really nice views here and there, but in comparison to what the rest of the BDR has to offer, Section 5 just didn't really speak to me as being all that unique or all that special. Admittedly, we are a little spoiled up here, so compared to other parts of the country, Section 5 is probably a home run compared to, somewhere in middle America that doesn't even have mountains. But what I'm saying is that when you compare it to Section 4, Section 3, Section 2, these are unbelievable sections. So if you're planning a trip up here, I would say plan on breezing through Section 5 in a day or so. I don't think that you need to spend a whole lot of time there, and even if you wanted to, there's not a ton of great places to camp anyway. Little update. Section 5 is absolutely beautiful. What I really like about Section 5 is that we're able to just blast through it. David's having an issue with one of his windows. We need to get to Napa ASAP, and I have a feeling that sections like 2 and 3 of the BDR are going to take up a lot of time. So today we're just trying to murder this trail. We're just trying to haul ass all the way down it, get to Chelan, get the parts for David, so that we can bank some extra time essentially to make sure that we have what it takes to deal with the other sections that I know are a lot less traveled. That said, we're still having to hop out, we're still having to cut down trees and all that stuff, but we're just doing everything we can to make today about efficiency so we can get ahead of ourselves on this trip. Are you gonna install this thing here? You're gonna install it on the trail.
Let's get to camp. Let's do two things at once, right? Let's make dinner, and I'll install this thing.
Well, I think we should have a little powwow, folks. We're camping, and we own food.
Oh, I know where this is going.
And I like it.
And I am excited about it.
But Jay, you got to get in on this too. Your vote counts.
Where you going, buddy? Get over here. Everyone's got a cool look.
I feel as if we should not do our own dishes tonight and maybe have someone else cook.
I didn't think I could love you more than I do right now.
We're in a premium town. Let's go get some premium
Let's go get some food somewhere. Let's have a little meal, and then we'll head up to camp. If you think that camping should be about suffering, you are missing out, bro. This meal was so good and way higher end, way more upscale than I was anticipating. I thought we were going to a bar, but this place was fancy. But we had no idea that the next leg of this adventure is going to be absolutely brutal. So I don't feel guilty one bit for that high-class cuisine, because we end up putting the work in and earning it in the very near future. What a view.
got big enough here, boys. A couple of them, in fact.
The only way I could describe the trees in this area was rat's nest. It was insane how one tree would topple over like 3 or 4 other ones and it would turn into a wad, a knot of trees right in the middle of the trail. On OnX, I could see a sweet spot that would have a pretty amazing view at the top of this little mountain, but unfortunately, because there were so many trees, we just had to set up camp right there on the trail. Once again, it's not a glamorous camp, but sometimes you just gotta make the best where you're at.
Okay, keep on going.
Here we go.
That's out of the way, out of the way. It's not a glamorous campsite, but it's our campsite. One big thing on the agenda tonight is definitely going to be chainsaw maintenance. I'm sure that Dave and I haven't even talked about it, but I'm sure that's the first thing on your mind too.
I'm gonna reset the chain.
These are some very important tools for what is going to happen tomorrow, and we don't even know what the rest of the sections look like. I know that there's going to be spots that have already been cleared out by other people. Hopefully we can just march our way up this hill and make some progress. And then those of you that are watching, they're thinking, hey, I wonder if the BDR is open. Well, you'll know as soon as you see this video. It's open.
It's no longer impassable.
It's open and we're a little bit better off for the work. Yep. Yep, it's nice to get a little exercise. So tonight is going to be rest. It's going to be downloading footage and maintaining saws.
Our goal for today is to make it all the way to the top of this mountain. And I mean all the way to the top. Doesn't matter how many trees are on our way, doesn't matter if there's a washout, we are gonna make it to the top of this mountain today, and we're gonna camp at a place with a view. We've been dreaming of that every night of this trip, and it's time to finally realize that dream and camp at a place that we envisioned whenever we planned this trip. There were a ton of trees in our way, but we will not be stopped today.
So the whole plan here this morning is to clear the whole road without bringing the whole column up, without packing up our tents or anything like that. We're all gonna pack into Nate's truck, clear the road, and then get the team together, reverse back down, take down camp, and really begin our day.
I don't even think any of us had breakfast. I think that we woke up, we fired up these saws, and we just started marching up this hill. That's the way that I remember this going down. And we wanted to make it all the way up to the top of what we now know is called the jungle.
Look at this view. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. So, David, how high are we above the lake?
We're now 4,200 feet.
4,200 feet total.
Above the lake, yeah.
So not above the lake, 4,200 feet elevation.
4,200 feet elevation, but the lake is at, oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Lake is at 1,200, we're at 4,200, so 3,000 feet, yeah.
We're 3,000 feet above that?
I know, right?
That's wild.
Pattern altitude for aircraft is 1,500 feet.
We earned every foot.
We definitely earned every
We
foot.
earned every foot of that.
We were expecting to be clearing trees. This is completely part of the plan. That's why I brought 2 saws. We're sore. We're tired. We're probably going to set up camp a little bit early today, but this is worth it. And for those of you watching, wondering, hey, I wonder if that section of the BDR is open. It is now. We made it wide enough to fit Big Booty Judy through. So likely you're going to be driving something smaller than that. So come explore your public land. After 9 hours of running saws and walking uphill and throwing wood off the sides of cliffs, we were very, very ready to make camp early. We wanted to have a great dinner, which we did. I brought some ribeyes from home that had been sitting in seasoning for the last 4 days. I wanted to have a really good movie with my friends. I occasionally bring a projector out, so for 3 nights, we have 3 different movies on this 10-day trip, so we decided that tonight would be the first night, and we decided to watch Ghostbusters, which was just perfect. Have a couple drinks with some friends, have some steak, enjoy Ghostbusters. We've got a beautiful view right outside of our tents. We finally got that perfect night.
Good morning, Nate.
Good morning, guys.
Morning, dude. What a day.
Already it looks nice, although it did rain like for 5 minutes about 20 minutes ago.
I think that was just a gentle wake-up call.
It was nature tapping down the dust for us today. It was very nice.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Out the back of your tent that way?
Let's go take a look at this view.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Door.
I am so stiff. Woo!
Yeah, we need more questions. I opened my Jeep door and saw that and went, oh my goodness gracious, how do you not feel energized? And even after yesterday, it was amazing.
Not a bad way to wake up, my friend.
Yes, agreed.
Let's make some breakfast.
It's
day 5, and this is our first truly slow morning of the trip, where we got going nice and slow. We took our time making breakfast, had some amazing breakfast burritos. We took a few minutes to talk about the next couple sections, and we did a little bit of research since we had some cell phone service to see what those sections looked like, what the most recent trail reports were. And it looks like we've got a pretty good little chunk of snow right ahead of where we're camped at right now. So once we were done with breakfast, we put away camp, and we hit the trail with full intent of airing down nice and low and taking our time through the snow.
Good morning, radio check. Check the 1, 2.
Just as we had suspected, this snow was complete garbage. The top 6 inches was like driving through ice cream. Just no traction anywhere. But at 3 PSI, we were able to float on top of it, work our way through, and it was uphill, which made it a little bit challenging. Just had to go until you can't, and then back up a little bit, get more momentum, go until you can't, and slowly work our way up this little hillside. The good news is the stretch of snow is not very long, and it didn't take us a whole lot of time, which is awesome because we want to make it all the way to Leavenworth today. Leavenworth isn't on the BDR, but it's just slightly off the BDR, and it's like my favorite town in Washington, so I did want to take the guys there, have one last meal out on this entire trip, and enjoy a little bit of German culture, a little bit of German food here in America, and then go and find a very impromptu camp. This is barely off the trail. We just needed a place to sleep real quick so we could wake up, head to Home Depot, get some supplies for our saws, and then head up Section 3. Section 3 is what I think is going to be the most difficult section of this entire trail, and it did not disappoint.
I'm going to find 5 spots near down somewhere. We'll be off-road for the next 2 days. Up, we got a tree. We're gonna move it real quick. I see a lot of fresh cuts on all that clearing. I was just saying the same thing to Jake. It's real nice to drive through it and not have to do the work.
I knew there was going to be tree fall in Section 3, but I was pretty surprised at how bad it was, considering how close proximity Section 3 is to Wenatchee and Ellensburg, and both of these communities are full of hunters and outdoorsmen, people who like to snowmobile, but I guess there's just so much tree fall throughout the winter that no one wanted to come up here and deal with this stuff. So unfortunately, we were the first crew up, and it meant that there was a lot of work ahead of us, and as we went up in elevation, we started to see some snow again.
This is definitely a multiple thaw situation. None of these fallen trees were here in October. There's a lot of trees that came down this year.
It's a big old tree.
That's a big one. That is a big one. Sheesh.
Looks like we got a couple more things in the way up here.
Foolishly, I had high hopes for this section. I know of a really great spot that we can go camp that is going to be spectacular. It's got great views. You even have a little bit of cell phone reception, so you can make some phone calls and whatnot. But it is very quickly starting to look like that's not going to happen. We finally feel like we're getting out of the densest part of these fallen trees, but now we're getting into a lot more snow, and the higher we go, we're starting to get a blend again of both.
Hey Nate, I'm gonna tiptoe at that, but I'd love a spot through there. That looks pretty gnarly.
There you go. Front locker just turned on. Keep the rear locker off so you don't slide the rear end over too far. Hey, hang on just real quick. How does this rear look?
Okay.
Shovels, I think, will be easier.
All right, so they tried to talk me through this. I ran out of skill a little bit right here. I'm teetering on the edge, and I don't feel real good. I'm starting to suck the seat up into my butt because I'm tensed up pretty tight. But their calm voices, that's how you learn. This is how you learn. I don't like sitting right here on the edge of a cliff, and that the fact that they have to keep a strap on so I don't go down there is very scary right now. And I feel like the Jeep is inching that way right now.
You're safe. You're not moving at all.
Jason wasn't in that rough a shape, but he was close enough to the edge that it made him really uncomfortable, especially with his rear end sliding over through the mud and the snow. So we took the safe way, and then we dug everything down just a little bit on the high side so that David could just walk right through.
Very late lunch. What is it, like 3 o'clock? It's 3 o'clock. We've been working like crazy trying to get all the trees cleared. I definitely thought we would be to the off-camber Beehive, whatever you'd call it, landslide or whatever by now. But we're not. There's a whole lot of down trees. There's some off-camber stuff with snow, and we're leveling out and whatever. So we're gonna have some sandwiches, and hopefully we can fix the rest of this trail and find camp.
The Beehive washout was right around the corner, so we went and scoped it out and determined that it is sketchy, but even though there's a little bit of snow on it, I think that it's passable.
Yeah.
The Beehive washout has been getting more and more eroded over the years, and it's getting to a point now where it's obviously pretty dangerous. I think we shouldn't wait until someone really hurts themselves to repair this. So we're going to invest like, I don't know, an hour and a half of our time. We're going to dig one side down and then add a little bit of the spoils to the other side, which won't make it completely level, but it's going to make it a lot less dangerous than it is now, which will help us trying to travel through, and then hopefully help other people throughout the summer that want to travel through safely as well.
It's probably hard to tell, but we dropped this side probably at its deepest about a foot, and this has been raised about 1.5 feet. So clearly it's not level, but it is so much better than it was. So now we're gonna take the Tacoma. It's nice, it's wide, it's low. We're gonna see how it fits through here. We'll tweak anything we need to tweak, and hopefully get the whole group through without too much more work.
I gotcha. I'm gonna start wide, doing a real Austin Powers lineup, and then you just keep me from going too far, but I'm gonna start wide and probably even back up a little, alright? Copy that, gotcha on this end. Go farther, go farther. Quite a bit farther. Come on back now, hard back, hard passenger, hard passenger. It's looking good. Your driver's tire's been locked for about 15 feet. Go passenger a little bit. Keep coming then. Hold your line and go driver, hard driver. No, no, no. No, stop, stop, stop. If you can go backwards and straight up the hill. Nate, we may need you over here. My front drive shaft turning at all?
I'm not seeing any front wheel movement at all. It came down and the front wheel's just freewheel. The front's locked?
Is my front drive shaft turning? It's on the passenger side.
No, no.
That's strange. Hang on. All right. Hey, we're gonna drive. I just got it in front. I just got it in four wheel. Somehow the 205 popped out.
It's not always easy going off-road. We were fine. Once we got David to stop and we got him to get that front drive shaft turning, he was able to back up. We were able to get things squared away. I think it's time to go find camp and make some good food.
We are so close to camp and so far away. If it was all cleared out, it would be like 10-minute drive to get to a spot that I've camped at before and that I would really like to show these guys. But unfortunately, with all the snow, with cutting down tons more trees, it was another like 4 to 5 hours before we got to camp, and we barely made it before the sun went down.
Take a look at that. This is the benefit to all the labor. Today is going to be a miles day. We have got to make some miles. We've got to get to section 2. We're going to take a shower. Cheers to showers.
Yeah. No more wipes.
What is it? The day 7?
Day 7.
Day 7. That's enough. So we're going to head to Ellensburg. I'm going to try to film as much as I can. I love bringing you guys along for the ride, but we don't have a film crew. You're looking at them. So we're the film crew, we're the work crew, we're the everything crew.
Stunt drivers.
We're the stunt drivers. So today we're just going to zoom. We're going to try to make a ton of miles. We're going to get to section 2 because that's where the real fun starts.
We were still pretty hopeful at this part in the trip, considering how much we still had to cover. I mean, we're 6 days in, and we still have to go like 300 miles to get from where we're camped right now to the Bridge of the Gods in Oregon to complete this journey. And we don't know how much mud or snow or trees are in between us and our goal. But very quickly, we find out that the section we're on is the densest section of trees of anything that we have done thus far. And after about 9.5 hours of working in the sleet, in the rain, clearing trees, clearing trail, I finally send the drone up whenever the skies clear just a little bit, and we look ahead and it is insane. It's just endless, the amount of trees that are in front of us. We would need probably 2 or 3 more days in order to complete this section of the BDR all the way to Ellensburg. So unfortunately, we only got 1.7 miles or something like that, and we ended up staying in the same place that we did the night before. The next morning, we licked our wounds, went back down to Wenatchee, hit the highway, and then came over to Ellensburg, finally got a shower, which was wonderful, and now we can start section 2.
Video.
Oh, yeah, dude. All right.
Welcome to section 2. We're still licking our wounds after cutting trees for 2 days, but I just made a couple of new friends here. They're out here playing around. They're filling up, we're airing down. And I'm very happy to not see any trees right now.
We've had a shower, the sun's out, there's no trees anywhere. Morale could not be higher. We feel so good, and this was such a nice breath of fresh air into the sails that is our motivation for this trip. We are enjoying every second of it. The plan is to try to get to camp early enough to have a nice meal and just drive with the windows down and enjoy the moment.
The group has come down with some sort of a sniffle. And so we got some gross goopy goop.
Cheers.
Cheers, David.
Incoming.
Cheers to good health and no more sniffles.
Well, I took drugs too, so.
Hey, all right.
Pills.
Oh, I thought we were gonna chug it.
That is not the
I'm
worst thing.
working on it.
That's not the worst thing I put in my
It's
body.
not the worst, it's just not the best.
It is among the greenest things I put in my body. Let's go!
That was pretty good. That was actually pretty good.
Needles are down just a hair. See if it'll fix it. Section 4 and 5 are where.
Section 2 and Section 3 are by far my favorite two sections on the Washington backcountry discovery route, and tonight we're going to be going to a place that I've been to a couple of times now. It's a perfect campsite because it's still in tree cover. I like to camp in trees, but it's also in the drier part of Washington, so every time I've been here, the weather's usually pretty good, just a little windy. David brought some venison sausage from a deer that he got last fall, and tonight's movie is going to be one of my favorites, National Treasure.
overlanding background, I think you guys would be very excited to see that there's a pretty good stretch of wheeling here in Section 2. It's not anything too difficult, but at least we're going to get to stretch out the suspensions a little bit, maybe flick a locker on here or there. So I'm very happy to report that we're going to be doing a little bit of driving today, gentlemen.
We are making outstanding time through Section 2, so morale is super high. I've seen reports online that there's still some snow in spots, but other people say that's not the case. There's actually no snow and a ton of mud. In any case, we are very pumped up. We're very ready to hit this trail, and I can't wait to show the guys what I think is the best view in Washington State, and that is Bethl Ridge. I think that it goes without saying that a barn door Suburban on 40s is a whole lot of truck to pull out of a mud hole, and David didn't want to dig this down more than it already was whenever we got here, so he decided that it's time to pull cable, which I think was a very good move, because even if he tried this mud hole multiple times, I don't think that he's going to be able to get through without winching. The reason that Jason and I pretty much walked through this and David is having such a huge problem is 1-ton axles. They're good for a whole lot of stuff. They're super strong, but one thing they're not good for is ground clearance. So even though David has the biggest tire of the group, he also has the biggest axles. And dragging those axles through ruts that are this deep is no bueno. In my humble opinion, Bethl Ridge is as good as it gets in terms of views here in Washington State. Especially if you can catch it on a day like today. It's super clear. The weather is just absolutely gorgeous. It's not too hot. It's not even buggy. This is exactly what I was hoping would happen whenever in my head I'm envisioning showing friends around Washington and what it has to offer.
It's 2:12. So we slammed through that last part of section 2, which is great.
Yeah, literally.
Everything was cleared for us. Thank you, whoever did that. The snow, I mean, we saw a patch that big, so not a problem. The mud was a little interesting, but you got some cleaning up to do before you go to Texas.
Before we go much farther. Yeah. Find a car wash.
So I think originally I was going to think we plan ourselves somewhere up on this ridge, but we have so much time, I think we should buzz down to section 1. We're out of time.
Heck yeah.
So
yeah.
We'll camp
absolutely.
on section 1 tonight. We'll refuel in Packwood, re-up on everything else we need, and just have our kind of our last night around the fire, I think.
I think it'll work.
It's weird going down this mountain road. I now have a pattern of how some of these mountains kind of go. You get to the top, you have the switchbacks, you have gnarly stuff, and then you have a kind of a switchbacky fire road that gets you back down. So we're on that. We're kind of on the cool down of all of that fun action we just had. The mud. I've never done third gear rev limiter mud runs before, and that was exhilarating and fun and scary and all this cool stuff that keeps happening on this trip. It's super cool. So now I think we are in the honeymoon of segment 2, and then it's fuel up, get ready, and then we'll touch segment 1 for camping tonight. So looking forward to that.
It's always weird to me how a trip this big seems short and long at the same time. There's so much anticipation for the trip, and there's all this excitement, and there's planning. So in our case, there's planning with sponsors like Powerstop Brake and OnX, and then it finally happens, and then by the end of it, you're very ready to get off the trail because you're exhausted, but it's a bummer. You know, it's such a fun time, and you can only do trips this big so many times in a lifetime. So we just cherish every moment that we were out there and did our best to get along with each other over all that time in stressful situations, and did our best to be good stewards and pick up trash along the way and repair the trail whenever we got the chance. And now we're finishing the easiest section. Section 1 is a breeze. It's 120 miles, I believe, and most of it's just flat dirt road, nothing really all that crazy. We did run into some snow, and we did have a weird situation on a snowy bridge, but this was not even close to being a big obstacle for us when you look at what the last 10 days entailed. We broke out the shovels, we dug down one side, we used our max tracks for traction, and we got through, just like everything else that we had to do on this trip. And before we knew it, we were about to cross Bridge of the Gods into Oregon.
Bridge of the Gods, next left. That's our finish line.
600 miles.
It's a whole bunch.
That's a lot of dirt, brothers.
Traditionally, more people probably go from section 1 to section 6 instead of the way that we did it, but check out this sweet finish line. And what I like about this is I feel like there's a door of opportunity to potentially start here, do the Oregon BDR, and then maybe one day make it all the way down to Mexico. We'll see.
This massive 10-day trip and this video was possible because of Jake at Powerstop. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
This
fellas.
is huge.
Thank you.
This is huge.
Thank you.
David, thank you for coming up from Texas. Jason, thank you for coming from Santa Clarita, and he's from Chicago. So I had great people come up to visit me in Washington. This was an absolutely wonderful trip. Support the people who support these types of projects. And if you want to learn more about all the different backcountry discovery routes, go to ridebdr.com. We'll see you later.
Thank you, Powerstop, for making today's video possible. All vehicles in today's video were equipped with Powerstop brakes, and as usual, this entire trip was planned on OnX Offroad.